Professor Laird here, and this is a supplement video to the syllabus for the International Relations class. So if you haven't watched the previous video, which talks about the basic requirements for all the online courses, please watch that first and then come back to watch this video on the specifics for the International Relations course. As I talked about in the previous video, we will be posting video lectures each Monday and Wednesday. I'll post the video lectures probably around by 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and then a discussion forum will follow that, posted typically by about noon, and then you'll have till 9 p.m. on those Mondays and Wednesdays in order to respond to the discussion forum for your attendance for the course. The class description for the International Relations course, you can read that, but we're looking at the basic elements, development, processes of the modern state system. We'll look at the international relations theories, formation of the state, conflict, international organizations, international law, globalization, international economics, and the environment. We'll also be writing a paper that I'll talk about here in a few minutes that is focused on objective, unbiased, critical analysis. Now, the textbook for the course is required. It's International Relations, 12th edition by Pearson, by Goldstein and Peavey House. As we'll see in the schedule here in a few minutes, that the course comes primarily from this textbook. Here is the online textbook. It appears that this 12th edition is only available online. In addition to the text readings, I'll be posting supplemental articles from time to time on Moodle. You'll also want to keep up with current events and world politics through legitimate, credible news sources. That will be important for your paper topic. Students will also be instructed on how to access the library databases, specifically for peer-reviewed academic journals. I've touched on those before. This is where the scientific studies get published. These are very important at the heart of your paper assignment. I use that term so much in the class because they're so important that I'll even use an acronym, PRAJ, just to save myself some time. Now, we've already talked about the online course participation, so let's talk just a little bit about the paper topic. Everything that we talked about in the previous video applies here. Each student will choose a current topic that is relevant to international relations, international affairs, or U.S. foreign policy, or global politics. So that's a big area to choose from. And your 1/2 page summary of that topic will be due on Wednesday, February 24th. Your topic will be a current topic. You could talk a little bit about the history of that and bring us up to date. What's influencing it? Why? What for? How come? Let's talk just a bit about grades, a little bit more specifically. As I talked about in the first video, have 3 tests. Each test is 20% of your grade. Please note that there are no makeups, there's no extra credit, there's no extensions for the tests. You have to keep up, you have to pay attention, you have to be prepared. Take the test on the day that they are assigned. You'll have until 9 o'clock to take that test. The tests will be timed. The test will typically be 35 minutes long that you'll take in one sitting. So you'll have basically a 9-hour window in order to take that test. So you'll want to be prepared before you start it, as you will not have time to look up answers, and you'll have to complete that test within 35-minute period, but you'll have until 9 p.m. in which to take that test. Basics of the class schedule. deadline to respond to each discussion forum is 9 p.m. They'll be posted each Monday and Wednesday. All of your paper-related assignments, such as the paper topic, which is a 1/2 page summary, or your peer-reviewed sources that you found so far in your final paper itself, they will be posted to a forum that I'll set up on Moodle. They will be due by 9 p.m. as well on that day. The deadline, as I said, to complete the tests will be 9 p.m. on the day that they are scheduled. Let's run through the schedule for just a few minutes here. As we are looking right now at this video, that's our first day of class. Then we'll talk about Chapter 1, Intro to the International System. We'll look at some basic terminology and touch on some topics that we'll be delving into more detail later on. Then Chapter 2, video lecture, will be on the realist view of the international system. Chapter 3 will be on institutionalism and other social theories. Then I want to supplement a little bit from what the textbook goes into and talk a little bit more about the evolution of the modern state, because our global system is broken up into sovereign countries, and so it's useful to know how it got to that point and why states are so important to humans that live in them. Then I want to post a video that's just talking about the class paper in general, the general basic requirements of the class paper to get you thinking about your paper and as far as how to write it. Chapter 4, I'll be breaking down into 2 parts: foreign policy, part 1, part 2. And then test 1 is on February 17th, and that will cover chapters 1 through 4, including those supplemental lectures that I include there, particularly the evolution of the state. The next section of the course, Chapter 5 video lecture, will be on international conflict. Then I want to post another supplemental video on the scientific method, which is very important as far as preparing for writing your paper. Also on that day, your paper topic is due in a 1/2 page Word file. Chapter 6 is looking at military force and terrorism. Then I want to post a video that's specifically looking at the peer-reviewed academic journals, where to find them, why they are important, how to cite them, things like that. Also, I want to delve a little bit deeper than what the text goes into and talk about political culture and democratization. Chapter 7 is talking about a lot of things that I'm going to expound on. That's why I'm breaking Chapter 7 up into 3 sections. First, we'll be talking about international organizations. Then we'll have a spring break, March 15th through 19th. Then I'll have a video lecture talking about international law, and then another video lecture looking at human rights. Then I'm going to jump to Chapter 10 because it's a little bit more in line with these international topics here. Chapter 10 is looking at international integration. And then test number 2 is on March 31st, covers chapters 5 through 7 and 10, as well as the democratization. The last third, globalization, talking about that a little bit more in depth before I get into these chapters where we're looking primarily at the global economic system. Chapter 8 is on trade. Chapter 9, global finance. Then a video lecture on colonialism, because it's been very important historically speaking as far as establishing this large rich versus poor global divide. So we'll talk about global inequality along with that. Then I want to post a short video on finalizing your paper, along with a PDF file that gives you some good instructions on how to write a more interesting, informative paper. Then a video lecture on Chapter 12, the North-South Gap, talking a little bit more about the rich versus poor divide in the world. And Chapter 13 on international development. The paper is due on April 28th. That's 4.5 pages minimum in a Word file, posted to a form that I'll set up on Moodle. Chapter 11, last chapter. So I'm backing up to Chapter 11 to talk about environment. And I want to break that down into 2 parts. And then test number 3 is on May 10th, looking at chapters 8, 9, then 11 through 14, as well as these globalization and colonialism topics as well. So that wraps up the videos for the syllabus for the International Relations class. So the next lecture that we post will be for Chapter 1, Introduction to the International System.